Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Redneckologist show. I'm Spur.
And I'm Coot.
And this is a bonus show. It's the one we promised. We're going to show you how to change a starter. Well, we're going to show you where the bolts are. To change a starter on a Mercury Johnson motor of under 50 horse.
Under 50, yes, that's right.
And Coot, you actually took that bracket off. We're gonna put up a video here in just a few minutes. But first, Coot, you took it off there to start with, and I helped you put it back on. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being overhauling a transmission, what would you rate this thing on ease of doing it?
Well, it must be pretty easy because I don't know nothing about overhauling transmission.
So that would be a 10.
Well, no, this little project is much easier if you know left from right.
No, I meant the transmission.
Oh, yeah, that's the doozer. This changing a starter on a outboard motor, I call it easy stand-up work. I mean, you're standing up, everything's, work level, height, and if you know left from right, if you can loosen the right-handed bolt and, retighten it, and don't over tighten it and that sort of thing. I'm going to say this is probably a little old 2, maybe a 3 project. Don't be afraid of it.
Okay, well, let's go on ahead and show them the video, and then we'll discuss it when that's done.
Okay.
Okay, I've got the top off already. Here's the Johnson 35, say 1982, and the starter replacement is pretty straightforward. I will give a link to the exact part to order for this, and I hope it's not too it's kind of windy today, and I hope you can hear me okay. But there's going to be a few screws, bolts to take out. Not too bad. We've got these 2 screws right here have to come off, and there's a U-bracket, and then this bolt right here has to come out, and you can see here's your bracket right here. This is your solenoid, and then the starter. It might even be easier just to go ahead and take this off, because you're going to have to get to this bolt down. See if I can get on it. Right back in there, and you can see it's back in behind there. This is a tough one, but the solenoid, if you go ahead and take it off, you can just take all the wires loose from it, and then it's going to have a tension bracket around it, and you can loosen the screws off, and then you can lift this whole thing out. Once you do that, you can get to that pretty easy. Then there's going to be one more screw, and so here's your starter right here, and the other screw bolt is around here on this side, and it is right there. So it's just that that one, that one, and of course that these 2 screws right here, and then this bolt up down under here. Let's see if I can get my finger there. I can't find it. There it is. Yeah, that one right back in there. Once you take those off, this whole piece will lift out. All right. Let's see, it's not focusing here for me. Okay. Once you do that, this entire bracket, this whole arm will just lift out. Now, the thing you have to remember on this is your starter has 2 bolts that go all the way through, and they seat up in here and over here, here and on the other side. So there's going to be 2 screw long bolts that go all the way through the whole thing. When you get your new starter, it's going to have the bolts, but it's going to have nuts here on top. You remove those little nuts off there and keep them to put back on your starter that you removed. But be careful, because once you pull those nuts off, your entire bottom casing on your starter will fall out, and all your brushes and everything will be, you don't want that to happen. So only take those nuts off the top of the new starter when you're ready to mount it to this bracket, once this bracket's off. And we did it like down in here, but you may even want to have 2 people. So if somebody holds the bottom on the thing, you take the nuts off, you get it seated up in there, and somebody else twists the screws for here and on the other side, and like I said, it'll be there. Now you're going to have your hot wires running in here. Of course, you're going to have to take it off. These 2 nuts came with the starter, so the old starter had them on there. We just pulled one off and pulled the hot wire off. Hot wire runs around to your solenoid, and then on the other side here it runs back, you know, down, and you've got these two right here. The starter was I want to say $57 on Amazon, and like I said, I'll put the link to it. The solenoid, if you want to, we did not replace the solenoid because it was a newer one, but and it looked fine. But if you do want to replace it, that's an additional maybe $12 to $14 more to go ahead and replace that. But that's all there is to it. And of course, it's got the beveled edges on here, so that when it jumps up, it'll find. So there's no adjusting here to get it right. You just, once you get it mounted, you just put this bracket back in place and do it right, and it's ready to go. All right. That was a darn fine video, if I do say so myself. Very detailed.
Yep, very detailed. Like I said, if you can turn a right-handed bolt to the left and loosen it and take it out, just be careful and don't drop your little washers and your bolts down under that motor part down in there, because you'll probably need a magnet stick or something to get them out. But you know, if you're pretty sure-handed, and especially if you've ever worked on one of your kids' bicycles or something like that, don't be afraid of this thing.
And I want to stress those two bolts that are running through, they're long. They run all the way up through the starter and hook into that bracket arm. When you go to take those nuts off, those came with the new starter. Hold the bottom of that thing down together.
Yeah, the plate end of it.
Right, because I know the bolts are still there, but that thing, once you pull those nuts off, that whole thing will slide apart. So just hold it together, get the nuts off the top, slide it up there while holding that bottom in place, and then either do it yourself or have someone else start those bolts in and get them tight into that bracket arm.
Yeah, Spur, you made a good suggestion. If you've got somebody to help you, someone to hold that plate and maybe to hold those two heads of those bolts all in place, because if that back plate slips off, then your armature brushes are going to pop out, and that could be a little tricky getting them back in.
Yeah, and we don't want anybody to run into any issues. Just trying to warn you ahead of time that you just want to hold that plate in place. There's going to be nothing holding it together once you pull those nuts off. Once you get it into that bracket arm, you're good to go.
And probably your worst problem will be like ours. We didn't realize the starter was dragging that bad until we got to the lake, and it just wouldn't start at all. And we kept trying it and kept trying it, and that starter got so hot, and you know, it just drug down and wouldn't turn.
All right, well, we're going to go ahead and cut this off. This is a bonus video. We're going to keep it short. So that's all the time we have. This is Spur.
This is Coot.
And don't forget to subscribe.